Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Veronica, and today I wanted to build a house in Sensequoia. I wanted to build like an autonomous house. So here we have that, and I'm not gonna show you the lot where I'm building that because I don't want to remove the house. I don't want to place it back. I just want to show you the speed build. So for now, quickly, let's enjoy this fancy building we've got here in Sensequoia with all of these like beautiful surroundings, which are gonna be our neighborhood. And let us right away skip right into the speed build. So for this house, I was going mostly for like a typical, I don't know, what I see in Pinterest, American suburban house. Maybe it's not so American, maybe it's closer to a farmhouse in some points, especially since I was using horse ranch quite a lot in here. And I did that because I figured that I think that I've never built a complete house except for a tiny little shack that my 1 million simoleon challenge seems to live in. And I thought that I might try and build at least one house where I use the horse ranch window set because those windows are really good. There is a pretty good set because you have several options of the sizes. Of course, it's like not so universal that you can use it literally everywhere, but I was thinking that maybe for a suburban house that may look kind of good. So in here we are gonna have that. And I wanted to kind of go a little bit off the Sims 4 limitations. So in here we have a car. Of course, it's not functional, it's just a debug car. So we have one just for the show so that, this 30 by 40 lot is a little bit more filled than it would be without a car driveway. And I usually have some sort of like issue, problem, I don't know, but I have hard time furnishing backyards in my Sims game because usually I just do the same thing over and over and over again, and I don't imagine anything new all the time, so I literally just all the time I make a backyard, all I have is, I don't know, a back door leading to this backyard, fenced in backyard, maybe a pool in there, maybe a tiny little green patch where I have monkey bar and a grill. And that's usually it. Sometimes we have a garden, and here we'll have it too, we'll have a grill too, but we won't have a pool, even though I thought about having pool at first, and I did place it at first, but then I had to delete that because I thought that, I'm using pools all too often, and I doubt that many people do have pools. But actually, to think about that, I think if you have enough money to own a house this big, you have enough money to own a pool, but not here. I decided that I'm not gonna place a pool in here. It's not so necessary, so we are not gonna have it here. And of course, we will have it here at first, as I've said, but I'm gonna remove that later. And when I was building this house, actually, I just thought that I need to figure out the exterior first, like the main shell of the house. I had to make a bump out in the back right away because I know that I do not want to leave like a blank flat wall in there. And also, I decided to figure out the floor plan like first thing because figuring out floor plan is usually my struggle because I usually keep going for one kind of floor plan where you have like kitchen, dining, living area, like huge big room, and then maybe you have a couple of bedrooms and maybe a bathroom, and that's it. But when I'm building two stories house, I just keep having slight problems, like not so slight because I keep wasting quite a lot of time doing the floor plans for them. And the problem is, I don't know how to lay them out because me personally, I've never lived in a two stories house. And me personally, I've never, maybe a couple of times, I've just been to a two stories house, and usually they had like pretty huge, ridiculously huge, I would say, hallways which were not so functional. And, or usually they had like long and narrow hallways, and I think that that doesn't look so good either. Maybe it's me. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe long and skinny hallways are fine, but I don't like them. I don't want to see them in the house I live in, and I don't want to see them in here. So I tried to kind of avoid some of these issues where, no just huge open area on the second floor, and no, we are not gonna have like a narrow hallway leading nowhere. So in here, I decided to like make an open area on the second floor. I know that I just said it, I'm trying not to do that, but I mean like, a hallway that's a little bit too big. That's what I would like. But having like open area on the second floor is just like having a second living room. Or maybe it's just a nice space for an art space, or maybe it is like a good area for a playroom, because in the Sims, especially I think if you have growing together or get together, having a playroom of sorts is kind of useful. But in here, I decided that maybe I can slightly go and embrace the fact that it's October already. But actually, I was building that in September, but I was thinking that I'm going to post in October anyway. It doesn't matter right here. But I was thinking that I might embrace autonomous part of existence. I don't know how I should express myself in here, but I was thinking that I should probably go for more folk kind of things around here. So in here, I decided that we are gonna go for slight Halloween details. So I'm actually honoring the Green Reapers event in here in this build too. We are gonna have in here those like spiritual table, however it's called in the Sims. I don't even remember actually because I don't play with that all that often, but that's kind of a fun item to have if you have paranormal stuff back. So that thing I mean is actually seance table. That's what I mean, because yep, I had to look it up because I completely forgot how it's called, and I keep forgetting the names of some things. It happens all the time, but sometimes I do remember. Maybe I have too many things on my mind, so my brain is not capable of keeping up with everything, but it happens. So I decided to stick out their seance table, and also later I thought that I might add a couple of additions that are gonna be fun to have in an autonomous house. So first thing, I was kind of going out of my way and picking details mostly not in white but in brown color, in a wood like reddish brown color. I usually not do that, and that is not because I don't like this wood color. That is just because I usually prefer not using that, because in the Sims there are some problems with matching wood colors, and I did not want to struggle with that. So that is why I didn't want to use brown in most of my builds, especially when I'm a little bit being lazy and don't want to think all this much. But in here, I thought that brown is kind of good color to match with orange color from, pumpkins, Halloween, and kind of thing. And also with some red leaves around it. So I decided to add a little bit more of brown accents in here, and not gray and white and black color scheme I usually go for, because picking everything in white is easy because you don't need to think about that when you do that. But when you try to make a house look cute, you kind of don't want to make it all plain and simple. You try to make it a little bit more complicated so that there are some things that will catch your eye or somebody's eye if you want to sell the kind of thing, like being a gallery builder, you want to see downloads of your build, because otherwise you're gonna feel like you were building for nothing. And sometimes I do feel this way, but that is fine. I know that I'm not that like experienced and good of a builder, so I'm not saying that to tell somebody like, oh, download my builds. No, if you don't like them, don't. That's fine. Like, I'm gonna play in here if I will want to, because sometimes I like the house I built at the moment when I build them, but later, maybe like a week later, I see some mistakes I have made, or maybe I look at the house and I think like, what were you thinking, Veronica? Why did you decide to place this kind of item in here? Like, why? It's not a good spot for it, or maybe that looks stupid, or maybe that is literally useless in the game. Like, why would you want to place it in here? But at the moment when I was building some stuff, I was thinking that that is good. So that's what I was thinking. And also about this house, you might have already noticed that I was kind of going like not my usual way if you watch my channel for some time now. But I usually go for like furnishing the whole house, decorating the whole house on the inside, and then I go outside and make all of the landscaping, make all of the yards, make like everything look pretty on the outside. This time I decided to go the opposite way. So in here, of course, first thing I did is the house itself, so that we have a shell. so that we have the rooms inside, so that we know that we can fit stuff on the inside. And then I decided to go right away and figure out the whole yard area. And that is because I have figured that sometimes I keep missing items in the builds I make when I do landscaping lost. And that is because to do some landscaping I use debug quite a lot. And when you use debug, sometimes these plants tend to jump to the height of the foundation. And if you lower the house first and then raise it back up, sometimes the game can think that some of the items you did place with move objects or maybe without it, they are like placed wrong. So the game tries to delete them, as I imagine it, as I see that. Actually, that is the logic I try to put behind it, but I'm not sure it really works this way. But I think that maybe it is. But I see this that sometimes the items I did place, they delete themselves or they play themselves like in my household inventory. If I have a household place on the lot, but in here I did not have that. And before, when I was building, I have noticed this kind of issue in the game, but in here I decided to kind of like go with some preventive measures, and all of the debug stuff I was placing I decided to place before going and furnishing and decorating the whole house. So in here we are gonna have the whole yard done before the house itself. And it actually gave me an idea when I was doing the yard about the kind of scene that might live in here. And I was imagining that maybe this house belongs to a couple of elderly people who live together, who were maybe married for like ages already. They're like literally ancient, maybe for now. And maybe the grandma is a gardener. Like maybe she likes her flowers, maybe she loves her plants. And that is why we are gonna have literally millions of planters everywhere around the lot, and I was mostly trying to fill them up with some like plants, in-game plants, which are not gardening skill related plants, but just landscaping. So I decided to place like quite a lot of plants in these pots. And I just think that that looks a little bit prettier this way, like the garden doesn't look as sad and empty as it usually does. And as for the grandpa, I was imagining that he might be like a car mechanic if it was real world and if we had something like that in the Sims. But maybe he like is a retired engineer and now he likes his telescope that we are gonna have in the backyard too. And now he likes his car. And the garden gnomes, yes, we have quite a lot of garden gnomes. Yeah, I think that you might have noted it already. And that is just because they are adorable. I know that they are annoying if you're playing with default kind of holidays in the game if you have seasons, because with the Harvest Fest they are gonna move around a lot and you will need to appease them, otherwise if they're gonna become angry, they're gonna break your stuff, and that is not nice. So sometimes in my game I turn them off because it can be annoying. But in here I decided not to do that. So not turn them off, but place them everywhere. We have a lot. I think you see that by now. But I just think that they look fun and they add quite a bit to the backyard. And let us go back to the people who live in here. So I'm imagining that this is kind of like a close-knit family. They communicate well with each other, and when you're gonna look on the inside of the house, you're gonna probably find a couple of interesting moments. And that's gonna be much, much, much later. So I'm gonna tell you about that much, much, much later. So now I'm imagining that there is like an elderly couple living in this house, and they like having their kids and grandkids quite a lot over. Like maybe they had a child, and this child is already like grown up because this couple is elderly, and maybe this person who is the child of this couple has a child of its own, and maybe this whole household has a little bit, a couple of like, secrets in the basement, I would say that, and they are literally in the basement. So you will see. And I'm also imagining that these people like to spend quite a lot of time outside, especially if you live in San Sequoia. The climate out there is kind of nice. Of course, it rains a lot, but it rains a lot everywhere where we don't have snowy winter, so that is kind of fine, I think. And I was imagining spending quite a lot of time outside, so in here I decided to place a couple of backyard sitting areas. Also, I decided to place a blanket that we got from the Love Strap pack, and also I decided to place here a fire pit so that Yes, it will catch on fire quite a lot because it does, but that's still kind of like a nice and cozy space to spend your time when you want to. Also in here we are gonna have a grill. Also in here we are gonna have an outside patio table so that you can just grill something and eat something. Like, typical summer fun. I don't know how to explain that, but that's what I was imagining about it. So that we like kind of like spending the time with all of our family on the outside. Maybe not all the time with all of our family. Like maybe yes, we have a woohoo bush out there. Yes, we have a blanket where you can woohoo too. So there are two woohoo spots literally in the backyard. But also in here I decided to stick a couple of like kids and toddlers fun things to do, like we have a tiny like splash pool we can get for toddlers, which is like a floaty by the pool. I don't know how to explain that in English, but you get what I mean. You saw that with a couple of palms. They're really stick like that in the game. I decided to stick in here a lot to do for everybody in your house on the outside. Like maybe grandkids help your grandma gardening. Maybe grandma like spending all of her days flower arranging out there in the garden when she's not taking care of her flowers. Maybe the grandpa is watching the aliens all the time with that telescope he got over there. Maybe he's been abducted a couple of times. Who knows? Maybe this happened in here. Maybe it could have happened in this kind of household. I'm imagining that this household is kind of fun. Like they look white on the outside, but they're kind of fun on the inside. So that's what I'm imagining here. And now, as I was saying, that we are slowly starting creeping toward the inside of the house, and not like to the inside, but we mostly have finished the backyard, and now we go to the front yard. And as for the front yard, at first I thought just placing there a couple of rocking chairs for the, grandparents, but no, we are not doing that here. I just decided to stick out there a chess table so that at least you have something to do out there. And I decided to stick there one rocking chair so that the grandma has some fun things to do out there. Like she can knit. That is fun thing to do for grandma. That is fun thing to do for me too, because I don't know. Knitting is underrated. Not so much, not so many people like knitting actually, but that is a good way to busy up your hands when you're watching something. I don't know, but I'm not that kind of person who can do nothing when I maybe watch a TV show, and I don't usually watch them, but I cannot watch a movie without doing something. So I prefer doing something when I watch a movie, and knitting is kind of a good way to do something when you watch a movie. And I remember when I was a teenager, I literally tried knitting when I was playing The Sims, and that did not work because playing The Sims you need at least one hand, and knitting you definitely do need both, so it doesn't work like that. And as we are going now to the inside of the house, I think that the first bedroom I usually do in the house is usually the most boring bedroom, but in here I kind of try to make it more fun. And one of the fireplaces is kind of directed into the bedroom, and in that bedroom it's like our primary bedroom, and that is why floor plan wise I just decided to separate it from the other all other rooms in the house. So this primary bedroom is kind of like detached. It's in a separated area. It has its own tiny hallway with its own tiny bathroom. Um, it's all divided. So the primary bedroom has its own area in the house. And in there, I decided to seek not the best bed in the game, but I think that one of the prettiest bed in the game, which is from the Cottage Living, and I have decided to use this red and black color swatch you see now. I think I decided to stick there a couple of horseradish paintings. Also, I decided to stick out there a huge fireplace like in the niche, which is like, a chimney actually on the outside, but that turned out to be a nice niche for the fireplace, so in there I decided to stick that. Also, we have like a wardrobe area where we have a closet, not a closet, but a dresser, a big one. Also, we have the sitting area, some shoes, a mirror, some boxes where maybe grandma keeps her stuff, and also in the tiny hallway which is leading toward this bedroom, I decided to stick another dresser too. And that is the moment where I decided apparently to go for expensive stuff in the game, because actually, even though we have a desk in the primary bedroom, that desk doesn't have a computer, because I maybe was imagining that grandpa, I don't know, keep some journals, so some of the stuff, and he keeps writing by hand. Like he doesn't like writing in the computer, and that is actually a little bit annoying that we cannot write books in a book in the Sims. Like I think that that is not so nice because I doubt that literally everybody writes their books on the computer because sometimes when you're on a go, you might have some ideas, you might scratch some stuff, like you might write something, you might sketch some stuff, not scratch some stuff. Like you might have your imagination going even when you're not at home. So I think that maybe having a notebook somewhere on the go is kind of useful, and it seems we don't have something like that. And that would be really useful to write a book in a notebook, isn't it? Am I the only one who think this way? I doubt that. I think that there are quite a lot of people who think that writing shouldn't be limited exclusively to a computer. So that's what I was thinking about that. And as I was going towards the bathroom in this house, I kinda let it a little bit go, and we used Realm of Magic wallpapers accidentally, but maybe not so accidentally. And we also have used some Realm of Magic cabinets, and that is where I decided we are not gonna go for like all that like nice and modern inside of the house. We are gonna mostly go for darker colors, for some more expensive wallpapers, which are not like generic but fancy looking, like for paintings in the bathroom and for some stuff like that. And a lot of reddish tones on the inside too. And it is actually one of those kind of rare houses for me where I decided to paint the ceilings because I keep forgetting about ceilings, truly. I keep forgetting about them. And sometimes they work a little bit glitched for me, and it it looks sometimes as if the ceilings don't recognize the room, or when I'm trying painting the ceiling, I accidentally try and paint the floorings, and it happened several times already, and that's annoying. So I quite a lot forget about all of the ceiling stuff, but in here I did not. And you might have noticed already that I decided to add like a tiny little detail, but that fireplace I was using has a little hook on the side, and in there I decided to hang a kettle. Just, maybe grandparents, they do like drinking tea before bed. Maybe they keep there some herbs in this kettle, so they boil it like right in the chimney with boiling some tea in the same time. And I think that that is like a nice and cute detail, which I really like about this house. And as for most other things from the bathroom, actually I think that there is nothing more so interesting about them, so I think that I will decide a little bit later to cut them out from this speed build. Like I see them now, you will see them during the tour. I think that's nice, that's okay, that should be fair, I hope. And as for all of the hallways, I kind of decided to go right away with them so that, usually for the hallways, I prefer using the same color scheme so that they look kind of similar. And if I could, I would have used, this like bottom trim for the wallpaper above the staircase and the top trim like right under the staircase because it looks a little bit weird when you have this bottom trim going all the way around. Even when right next to the staircase you have like a tall 2 stories high blank wall, and there is like this seam in the middle where we have bottom and top trim meeting. That looks weird, doesn't it? I think it does. So in here I decided to ignore that. I decided to ignore a lot of things about the Sims because not all of them are perfect. But in here I have decided to ignore it again. But usually I prefer using like solid color wallpaper just because of it, especially in hallways. But in here I decided that I want to have fancy wallpapers literally everywhere, and I just use the same one on top and the bottom. I usually do it a lot. And next up to the hallways, I decided to go for the dining room. And as for the dining room, I just went for, I don't know, typical, expensive, generic, not generic, but fancy base game dining room. And in the living room, mostly I've used base game table, I've used base game chairs. Of course, the lights are not base game, but some of the decor around is base game too, like a room divider, which I like sometimes placing right against the wall so that it doesn't divide the room. But it still looks nice and fancy because, it's kind of nice. Like, you can pull it out from the wall, you can stick it between the dining and the living room and kind of make the area a little bit more private if you really want to. You can also place it right against the window so that, hide from the neighbors if you have some secrets to keep and stuff like that. And as for the living room, I decided not to go for all that much of fancy furniture, but I decided to go for a little bit more of old looking furniture so that it just looks big and cozy, and so that we don't have like this too open of the area feeling when you are in the living room, because I don't like this kind of feeling. And in the living room, after I did the dining room, I've spent literally tens of minutes trying to pick the carpet. That was a disaster. Like, I've spent so much time doing that. That looked wrong, like all the time. I did not know what I want. I really did not know what I want. I think that I went through every single carpet we have in the game, but in the end, I've made my choice, and we have a carpet in there, luckily. And then I could not figure what I should do about that empty square spot we've got in the living room. And I thought that we might make like some empty area to reserve some area in case your toddler or infant or whoever it is gonna grow up. And I know usually when I build a house, you kind of try to fit in there everything for like all of the age groups that can be sleeping out there. And in here we can sleep like elders, we can sleep teens and adults too, and we can sleep toddlers, but we cannot sleep in here infants or maybe newborns. And you can, of course, sleep in here kids if you want to place them like in a bedroom with a double bed. Maybe you want to, maybe you want to make like a fancy family, who knows. But in here, I decided to go maybe for some sort of like counterintuitive thing. And yes, so we can sleep in here. Not all of the age groups, like this house by default doesn't fit a child, but we have some things to do for a child too. Like children can play chess, children can watch through the telescope, children can do school projects and stuff, but teens can do the same. So literally, if you can fit a teen in here, you're all set. If you can fit a toddler, the toddler is going to be a child, like literally in the game's week. So you will be able to use all of the stuff that it plays for a child too. Maybe that is a slight misconception by me, but that's what I wanted to do in here. Yes, we have a school project in here and a tiny little hangout area outside. And actually, now that I think of that, I did not imagine this house fitting grandparents, parents, and a child. I was mostly imagining this house fitting grandparents, a teen, and a toddler. And that might be a little bit weird looking, but yep, that's what I was imagining. And by now, I think you might have noticed a little tiny detail that I have added quickly into this whole build, and that is basement. Basement is not going to be huge. It's going to be kind of small and kind of mostly useless, but I think that basements are fun in The Sims, and I like placing them in my game, especially because you can do whatever you want to do in the basement. Like you can make whatever you want to make in the basement. Like you can make literally any shape in the basement, and that's gonna look okay because you don't need to roof that. You don't need to imagine the whole exterior look out there. And I tend to care quite a lot about the exterior, so I like placing basements in my game. And at first I thought that, I was using some of the stuff from the Realm of Magic already, so maybe I can make like a tiny little secret potion room in the basement. But then I decided to do that, of course, and one more little tiny detail, which is maybe a little bit more interesting, but that's tiny. That's like not a huge of a detail, but I will show you, of course. And as for the kitchen, I decided to make like country cozy kitchen, maybe so that it just looks autumnal. So I decided to go here again for this watch wood I've never used before, because I doubt that I've ever used this cabinet from the Cottage Living in this brown color. but I have used them here. And yes, this kitchen is literally mostly cottage living. And also in here I decided to place a vertical planter from the eco lifestyle, because that planter, as for me, is like a nice planter to place somewhere on the inside. And I decided to place one so that maybe grandma grows in here some herbs, which she might use later to cook with them. And that must be something nice to have, I think. At least I think so. And I think that the kitchen turned out to be kind of nice, and only a couple of walls, like one divided by those like custom archways, which are literally spandrels and columns. I just decided to make that one area like covered in stone, so that that is like a wet area of the kitchen, because wallpaper, of course, can stand stove, but not water. I know that I've messed this up, but I was imagining that, you need something water resistant in the wet area in the kitchen. So we have it here. And as I was saying that, now I'm mostly going into that tiny little off room from the kitchen, which is like was used to be 4 by 4, and in there I decided to add laundry, and that can be annoying sometimes, but if you don't use laundry, or if you don't have laundry day, you can just place in there, maybe, I don't know, some sort of storage. You can place in there like a locker, or you can also place in there something like a dresser, and that should be fine, I think, too, because tiny little storage area just for the story part. Like, it shouldn't always be functional. Sometimes you just do stuff in the Sims for it to look pretty, and you don't always want it to be absolutely functional. And now, after I finished with that 2 by 2 room, I went upstairs and decided to do the hallway. And the hallway, yes, as I have said, I told you that I don't like huge hallways, and I've made one here. But I've made it useful. So in this huge hallway, we have a piano, so you can practice some music out there. Also, I decided at first, as I have said, to place their games table, because games table are kind of useful if you like playing with the family, because you can play cards in there. You can also play Don't Wake the Llama if you have get together. You can make some puzzles if you have growing together, and that is fun. But later I thought that, the Grim Reapers event is on right now. Why don't I make it a seance table instead of games table? Like, they are the same size, but seance table is a little bit more fun, and that's gonna fit the vibe of the full house a little bit better than games table. So I decided to switch that a little bit later. You will see that. And now I think that you might have noticed that there is like a tiny little square room off from that area where it's had to place seance table, and that room is like tiny little 4 by 4 room, and that is an art studio. And I've just imagined that maybe a teen or a young adult who lives in here, because there is a bedroom that fits 2 adults again if they're a couple. And this room I have decided to make an art studio because one of my sims I was imagining can be an artist, but actually it was mostly because, this kit just released. I was really curious to use that, so I did. So here we are gonna have an art studio. And I think that is not such a bad thing, because, painting the Sims is kind of useful, and that is nice to have a dedicated area for your hobbies. So art studio it is. Maybe grandpa is not a mechanic, not an engineer. Maybe he's an artist. Who knows? You can imagine a story for the Sims who live in there yourself. And I think that that is actually a very fun thing to do. To imagine a story for a Sim you're gonna play with. And then when you start playing, it all goes to shambles, because Sims are not listening to you properly, and they're not doing what they are supposed to do. So that's fine. That's just details. If you ignore that, the game is absolutely fun. So that is what we are gonna have out here in all of the community areas on the upstairs. And of course, bathrooms are community areas too, if you think about that, because you can meet your siblings when you go there, but that's not what we want in here. So bathrooms are just kind of simple. I just added some division in them. So we have like a separated area for a tub. We have like a separated tiny area curtain for a toilet. In the other bathroom, I had some struggles because we have quite big windows in there. But in the end, I just decided that going and having a shower in there is kind of nice. Like, we don't always need to have a tub in there, and especially since we have a tub in another bathroom in this house. So I just thought that having a shower in here should be kind of fun. And I've yet again used that shower from the Snowy Escape because you can make like a custom shower with that, and that is my absolutely favorite thing to do in The Sims. So I did it here again. And of course, mostly bathrooms are decorated generically because you can imagine only so many things for the bathrooms, especially. That is why I don't like furnishing like generic rooms in the game, like functional rooms, which are bathrooms, kitchens, and stuff like that. And I mostly just prefer doing something a little bit more fun. And I think that kids' rooms are, for me at least, are a little bit more fun, like right down my alley. So now, after all of the bathrooms, which were a little bit boring, we are now going and using the new kit again. And this time it's Storybook Nursery Kit. And in here, I've used literally almost every single item from that kit. And I have decided to make like a gothic bedroom for a toddler, where the toddler has some area to play. The toddler has some area to relax out there. The toddler doesn't have a high chair though, so the toddler is a little bit unlucky in this aspect. But I don't tend to use high chairs all that often for my toddlers. I just tend to use, I think, much more often some of the skill items that toddlers have because I usually don't like keeping them around quite a lot. But this toddler might have something going on around them, and you might see that by the table they have. So I think that's fine. Not by table. You can see that by the room they have, by the paintings they have. And that is maybe fun. The toddlers can be a little bit weird, I think. So I decided to make a weird bedroom for a weird toddler in here. And I think that that's something fun to have sometimes because even though the house itself is not like that dark and maybe mysterious, but the toddler bedroom is. And another bedroom up on this floor is gonna be two. I decided to use that like big and beautiful bed we have from the Realm of Magic, and I have used quite a lot of things from the Realm of Magic out here. And I actually was thinking about using a lot of crystal creations here too, and you might have seen that I did because we have crystal creations wallpaper, we have crystal creations crystal creating table, however weird it sounds, but we have jewelry table in here so we can make our own jewelry or crystals. And I think that that is a fun thing to do in the Sims sometimes because, as for me, I don't tend to use stuff from packs like that all that much, but I like using stuff from packs like that. And yet, yes, of course, this room has millions of plants, and this room is one where I was getting a little bit tired already, and where we have mostly black color scheme because I didn't want to think about colors matching anymore. I just thought that I'm gonna make it dark, I'm gonna make it mostly cozy, and I'm gonna hope that that's gonna work. So that's what we have out here. And right after I have finished with this room, I decided to go back downstairs into the basement and I decided that I might need to finish that. And now I think you might think like, why do I have two rooms? Because I have a coffin in my basement. Yes, that's it. That is the main secret. We have a coffin in the basement, and that is because maybe we have one more sim living in this house, but we did not know about them. And this sim is vampire who is worshipping Vlad. So that's why they have that huge of picture. Or maybe these people are worshipping Vlad, and maybe they're always happy to see him, and maybe they're always welcoming him over here. Or maybe when next time Vlad is gonna call you right after you talk to him only one time, right after he hissed at you, and when your relationship got negative, when he's gonna call you and ask you to stay over at your place for a week, you're gonna say him yes, and you're gonna send him right off to this basement to sleep in this coffin. That's what I'm thinking about this basement. That's what I didn't hear. Like you can sleep flat in here, you can play, you can live in there all by yourself. So that is what at least I'm thinking about. this house. So that's actually it. And now I think let us go back to the game. So here is what the finished product looks like. I decided to add in here some autonomous house. Also, you did not see me placing this swing set, but I just thought that, this area was a little bit too empty. So why don't I add in here some more plants, swing sets, so that just is a little bit filled. And that should be fine, I think. And in here we have some mini pathways around here. We have like a car driveway with a busy gnome on top of it. Also in here we have some like threads from a car, but that's it. And of course we have quite a lot of decor, and quite a lot of this decor is orange. And yes, a naked gnome on the side, just to show off to the neighbors. And as for this whole house, we have here a couple of bicycles, just in case maybe when your kids are over, you can give one to them for them to ride. And in here we have a backyard hangout area, which is well lit at night, especially this area because I decided to add in here some string lights. And in here we have a picnic table. I almost said about picnic blanket. Also we have a tiny sitting area with a drink tray. This is like an imaginary laying area so that you can just lay out here and relax, maybe 10 if you like things like that. In here you can just relax with your toddlers because they can swim, move in there. They can have some fun in the water out here. And in here, you can eat what you have grilled. And here, I'm imagining they keep some of their utensils. That's it. And out here, we have Patchy, of course, because Patchy is kind of useful if you have a garden this big. And here we have these tiny essential things, a lot of gnomes, a lot of pumpkins, a lot of plants. Also in here we have this flower arranging table, a telescope. So we have quite a lot of stuff to do out here in the backyard. And as for the front yard, literally nothing to do except for the front porch, because in front porch you can play chess and you can knit. And now I think let us go inside. And on the inside, I know that I mostly used a lot of red and green color scheme. It's not Christmas, don't worry about it. We have orange too in here and too warm of a brown color. And if you enter the house out here, we have these things from Cats and Dogs. I know that it doesn't fit that well with the mirror, but I just thought that it looks nice. And in here we have a coat rack. Also we have a tiny sitting area, some shoes, an umbrella. And from here, right through this archway, you can enter the dining room. In the dining room, we have a long table to feed the whole family. We have some plants. We also in here have a lamp, some tiny decor. Oh, I have messed up! I did not have this kind of wallpaper in my dining room. Yes, it is like that on the gallery. No, that's not what I wanted. For your information, I used to have here this wallpaper all around this room. I apparently messed up when I was painting these two rooms. No, now that looks terrible, but now at least you know what I wanted to place out here. Should I place it second time on the gallery, or is it okay and you will be able to fix it yourself? Now that's so much better. That's what my room looks like, and that is why we have this thing hanging up this high. So in here we have these bird plates. Also in here we have this gallery wall from the Dine Out, and some books, some shelf. And in here we have a creepy painting from the Paranormal. And also in here we have our school project making area, and you're gonna chill out here in case you got a little bit tired. Also in here we have a chess table, and I decided to place here quite a lot of clutter. Grimophone, of course, Grimory prevent. Couldn't have missed that. And that is our living dining area. And from here through this archway, you can access the kitchen. In the kitchen, we have a breakfast snack. We have some cooking area. I know you can cook only up on this counter, but we have quite a lot of stuff out here. Like we have a pressure cooker, a very useful item on the kitchen. We have a coffee maker, really useful too, and a microwave. Not so useful, but nice to have. And in here I decided to place a planter with a couple of plants in case you want to plant them later, but it's just to give an idea. And out here we have like a broom cupboard where we also have this gap right behind this curtain to the basement. To the basement, I think I'm gonna come back a little bit later. But as for the first floor, in here we have laundry, that's it. And through this tiny door we have over here, you can enter the downstairs bathroom, which is like for everybody. And this is like an ensuite bathroom for this primary bedroom. So in here they have a shower tub combo, a sink, a toilet, and a hamper. And in their primary bedroom they have these fireplace with a mirror on top of it. Also a kettle, just because I thought that's adorable. In here they have a cabinet, some sort of like a dressing area with some, I don't know, family heirloom they keep out there. And then here they have a couple of bookshelves and a sitting area. So that's where they're watching all of the neighbors going out and about and writing down what they have seen. And that's it for the first floor. As for the second floor, in here we have quite a big of a hallway. In the hallway we have a piano, so you can play piano. Also we have a seance table and a lot of bookshelves. And if you don't have Paranormal, you can switch the seance table to something like Gabe's table. Gabe's game has one too. And right from here, through this archway, we can access our art studio. In here, I was imagining that maybe they were keeping some of, some of the stuff around, like they did not put everything on display. That is why they have this bust out here. Or is it a bust? I'm not sure, but this body out here. And also in here, they have some of this kind of like sets to paint them. And yep, of course, that is like failed painting, old one. These are like some sketches, and yes, they have quite a lot. And I had in here another unpainted wall. I don't know how it happens. I painted everything when I was doing this house, but it somehow got lost. Happens sometimes. I don't know how it does happen like that. And now let's go to the bathroom. That is pretty boring, but in here we have a shower, toilet, and sink. And this bathroom is literally the same, but little different shape, like offset. And in here we have a sink, a toilet, and a tub, and that's it. That is how to place a tub out here because we have a toddler, and for a toddler in here we have our tiny little nursery. And this room is kind of like really small because literally that is the room. And from this archway we can access our like dressing room. That's where we have a changing table, this rack so that we just keep some stuff, and a huge mirror with some clutter. But still, that looks beautiful, I think. And out here we have this bookshelf with some creepy paintings because this toddler is onto something apparently. And we have a size down dollhouse, which is from the new kit as well. And these blocks too. They are absolutely not visible down on this carpet, but they are here. And now let us go to this bedroom. In this bedroom, it's pretty dark, but I kind of like the vibe. But in here we have a crystal table. Also in here we have this huge bed from the Realm of Magic, which I like because look at that. That is beautiful. All of this moon and star, that's absolutely beautiful. In here we also have a sitting area and a computer area, and that is where we have a computer in this house. We have one, I did not forget about that. And this room has a dresser. That's useful to like closet actually, not a dresser. So that's kind of useful to have. And in here we have a mirror, a plant. On the outside it said to place a charging table for our crystals and not a telescope. And in here we also have this rocking chair in case you want to maybe watch the stars like by your bare eyes. And in case you want to play with some of the high school years gameplay, which is like running away from the house to maybe go to the party. That is like a nice way to escape the house. Like if you move a couple of these plants, your team will be able to go down the stairs and leave. And that's what I was imagining for this area, at least at first. That is why I decided to stick it out here, like in the first place. That is why we have it here. So that is why I'm imagining this it is Steam's bedroom. But maybe at some point when I was building this house, I just decided that that is grandparents, and that's it. Even though like normal adult parents can live out there too. So that's it for the main part of the house, for like for everybody part of the house. And now let us go to the basement. And in the basement we have a hose which kind of got stuck in here from the first floor, but it shouldn't be here, but it's here. In the basement of all lighting we have only Realm of Magic lamps, these ones, and only candles. And if you go down the basement, we have a lot of cracked walls. And if you go through this door, you enter to like a nice room. In here we have some plants, in here we have some storage and some clutter, and maybe in here we keep our potion ingredients. And actually you can, as I remember. And in here you can make your potions, and that is for a spellcaster. And I was imagining that maybe a teen who lives out here in this bedroom is a spellcaster. And also in here we have this area, vampire area with Vlad's picture, and I just think that that is fun to have in the house too. Like, guest room. That's what we have out here. That's what happens to all of our guests. Like, we are really good people. We love guests, apparently. Like, you see, they have a guest room. Like, who cares if it's in the basement? Who cares if it has a coffin in it? Who does? I don't. That's why we are having some secrets. Like, we don't tell this kind of stuff to literally everybody. So that's it. So that's the house, the complete house now. This house is already in my gallery. It's called Autumn House or Fall House, and you can find it by my hashtag gloverunt, which is like my YouTube name, and all of the info about this build is down in the description below. So I think that now, as we have seen this house, I think I should find a cute picture for it. And I'm gonna thank you for watching, and if you like videos like that, I think you might subscribe to my channel. And I think that this should be a goodbye. So, bye guys.